sweetheart, Brian and Tara Kemp. So we're grateful to them for that, and that has moved forward into other events as well. So we're grateful.
We are. Also want to thank Dan Antonucci from Niagara Frontier Golf Club. Dan and his staff do a remarkable job in making the course beautiful year-round, but certainly by the time August rolls around, it is just a pristine course that our golfers love to play and have been very happy there.
Our chairs, Dr. Mike Mitchell and Ian Shorthouse, and also Joe Mitchell.
Joe Mitchell. Yep, and Matt Shanahan as well.
And Matt Shanahan. So those four gentlemen did a bang-up job. So it worked out really well. We're hoping they'll be chair again next year.
Yes, indeed. Another opportunity that we were able to do while it was still warm and nice outside was gather together for a company picnic. So that was that had been a couple of years certainly that we had not been able to do that. So certainly, I mean, we talked a little bit last time in our first time gathering back together, really since the pandemic had hit. But just an opportunity for all of us to say thank you to all of our staff. Our staff that have been working so hard, for the past, however many years that they've been employed with us. But the pandemic certainly has thrown so much at our staff, and they've handled it with remarkably well.
It really is amazing. Most people don't really think of the agency as being an essential service, but community missions is classified as an essential service based on not only our food distribution, but also the other services that we provide, residential care and other types of services. So while others were home and working from home, our staff were in. They were in on a regular basis. We did certainly take our staff down to the required levels at whatever point the government asked us to do that. But basically, we've been back in full strength since July of 2020, where many organizations were still closed or providing services remotely. It's very difficult to provide a 24 residential service remotely. It's also very difficult for people to receive food. And it was during that time period that our staff really stepped up. People were doing things that they don't ordinarily do, and you did never hear from any of the staff, that's not my job. So incredibly proud and incredibly thankful for the staff that we have at the agency. So a picnic was a small thing, and although all of the staff could not take part or did not take part, the majority of staff were there, and so it did give us an opportunity to give them a nice lunch and say thank you for the work that they're doing as well.
And let's talk a little bit about that lunch in particular. We used one of our programs, one of our newer programs we'll be talking about as we kind of get into the next few months of programming, but our Tower program, which is a workforce development program with our parole reentry division, so they were able to cater.
Yes, and they did a wonderful job. It was a great lunch. The Tower program has really just taken off in directions that I think we never really anticipated. This is a brainchild of Eric Bordner, and Christian, you were very helpful in getting it developed and move forward. The staff have partnered with local businesses and both restaurants and hotels that give individuals who are working through a 13-week cycle program where there's several weeks of soft skill development and workforce training, and then they move out into the community, either into a restaurant or into one of the hotels for more practical on-job hands-on experience. And then after that, many of them don't even graduate. They get hired before they even finish the 13-week course. But that's the premise. So employment at the end of the time period, and we've had 4 cohorts that have graduated successfully, and it's just been a very dynamic program, and one that has been highlighted both by individuals contributing to the program and our most recent grant, specifically because of the success of the program.
Right. Yep, it was a great opportunity. And again, we'll be talking a little bit more about the Tower program here coming up. October was a busy month. We had a couple of different activities. One that we had talked about previously here, though, was a fall fiesta. This was a new event that we had, an opportunity to really just have a family, fun, friendly activity. The weather did not cooperate so much, so we had to go inside, but lots of fun, different activities that we had for lots of kids that ended up showing up.
And several local local farms are donors, both for flowers as well as for pumpkins.
Yeah.
So again, it really gives an opportunity for individuals in the community to come together and support the organization, which is really very, very gratifying.
Yep, so we got a little video highlight package that is rolling through there. We had lots of pumpkins to decorate, thankfully from Volpel Farms. We had some mums that people were able to take advantage of also. But yeah, lots of pumpkin. We had our carnival games that we had built in years past for different events and such. So that was fun. We had Niagara University came and did some early learning activities to make sure kids were kind of hitting those milestones as they needed to. And we had free Halloween costumes as well. So a lot going on for the Fall Fiesta. We're hoping to make that. That was our first annual. We'll continue that one on as well. Just another opportunity to get people kind of in the doors and a new kind of activity that people may not be able to enjoy if they can't make it out to all the different farms that populate Niagara County. Most recently, over the past week or two, at least as we're recording, Giving Tuesday took place.
Yes.
So that is a very busy time for us around community missions. Once again, as we keep saying, it looked a little bit different this year than it had in the past couple of years. So Giving Tuesday, we were able to, again, have a lot of restaurants participating in donating back a portion of their sales to community missions, but also being able to partner once again with Leadership Niagara and their high school division link to be able to bring about 60 or 70 high school volunteers in to learn about servant leadership, but also to be working all throughout the agency.
Well, the agency looks great. We're ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have the kids come in because they help make things much more festive and help to decorate. And sometimes people think that doesn't make a big difference, but certainly your environment really does matter. And so unfortunately, we do have people who have to live in a homeless shelter during the holiday time period because they don't have other places to go. And so providing them with an atmosphere that's cheerful and bright and having just the busyness of what's going on in the agency, I think sometimes helps people sort of step outside of some of the problems that they feel like they have to address. And certainly staff is there to help do that. But it's really makes a big difference, I think, to see lights and think about maybe some happier times that are a part of a childhood or part of working through something that the person is dealing with. So
those volunteers did things like, working in the kitchen, in the closet and such. Obviously decorating was a big piece.
Wrapping gifts.
Wrapping some gifts as well. So I went over with them. There's a independentsector.org does some nonprofit research work. And so they each year peg how much an hour of volunteer time is worth. And so across the country, when you consider all kind of volunteers and such, it's somewhere around $25, I think it is.
Oh.
If you look at New York State in particular, everything's more expensive in New York State, so it's about $32 an hour. So I worked it out with the kids, how long that they were there and how many there were. It was about $1,800 for each of the two cohorts that came through. So that's roughly $3,500 in savings you could look at, for the amount of work that they were able to do in a short amount of time for community missions. And there are so many different ways that people can volunteer. I want to mention a couple of other volunteer groups that have also helped us. We have had a wonderful donation from the Niagara Falls firefighters who brought in thousands of toys from years gone by, which is a wonderful thing. And we have a group of volunteers who we've had a couple of times throughout the Christmas season in years past that have come in and sorted through all of these wonderful toys to be able to help us in the Christmas program and just as we kind of need toys through the Christmas time. So there are just, again, so many different ways volunteers can help, and that's just one small way that people are doing so right now.
Yeah, and if others are still looking for a volunteer opportunity, we still have families. Individuals come to the agency. They give the names of their children that they might not be able to purchase gifts for, and we adopt them out to families who are willing to, or groups who are willing to take on families. So we still have about 30 families, varying sizes from 1 to 2 children to 6 to 7 children. So if there's an opportunity for you or the service group that you're working with interested in helping us make Christmas brighter for a family, then please let us know. I know the numbers are going to be scrolling on the screen so that you'll have an opportunity to be in touch with us. But thank you so much for considering that as an opportunity to help give Christmas to someone else.
So it is the Christmas season, certainly lots of different ways, as you mentioned, to be able to help. Obviously, we also need donations of clothing, household items, all those kinds of things, but also food. And think of us certainly, through this season, but also after the holidays end. Lots of people, lots of drives, obviously, you're probably seeing all over the place for donations of canned food or such to us, but we can always use that year round, certainly, to consider that. As we are wrapping up, I did want to pass along one kind of sadder note as well. Honestly, the reason that we are here recording Community Link, I started about 10 years ago, and I inherited this seat about maybe 3 or 4 years ago from Don Luce. Don Luce, again, if you're watching this, you most likely remember Don from sitting here and talking to Robyn, to me, to any number of different either staff at Community Missions or residents of Niagara County and such about how people can make a difference, how they can help community missions. Don recently passed away. I believe it was right around Thanksgiving, maybe the day after.
Yes, just a little bit before Thanksgiving.
And so Don spent 20 years of a storied life in Niagara Falls, certainly in that Community Missions. He was with Community Missions for 20 years. But just wanted to pass along. Everyone should know, certainly the obituaries, have run and such. But any...
There'll be a celebration of his life December 26th at 1 o'clock at Community Missions, so certainly all are welcome. Don was a very unassuming individual. Certainly there are newspaper articles coming out all the time regarding his death. He was an activist. He was a journalist, a photographer. He was an adjunct professor at NCCC. Don wore a lot of hats, and but one of the hats he wore was as the public relations director at Community Missions, and he